I think the thing that I miss the absolute most would be hugging people. I cannot wait for the day that I am able to just hug people I just meet, friends of friends. I especially miss hugging my family and friends. Uh, it's it's it makes people healthier and happier to hug people. I think we're missing a connection here. I also really miss seeing people smile when you smile at them in public, and I think that's it helps your soul. You know, when people are happy, if you can see their smile and you're able to hug people, it's a connection. I miss being social and going out with groups of friends. I can't wait for that to happen and to be able to embrace my friends again. Um, I most of all missed human connection during this time.
So, my sister in law is a healthcare worker who has dealt with COVID 19. She works at Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital, and it's been a very humbling experience to watch her deal with everything. They were low on supplies at the beginning, like everyone else. Thankfully, they've gotten support and, donations, and they're doing pretty well. But she has anxiety, and I know it's been amplified because of the virus. Going into work and having to get your temperature tested. They finally got tested only recently, and the test came back negative for her, so we were all very thankful to hear that. But you can tell that healthcare workers have to be 10 times more cautious because they have the potential to come in contact or carry the virus. I'm high risk. I have type 2 diabetes. My grandmother-in-law is older and has diabetes, and you can tell that my sister-in-law is being super safe and cautious and doesn't want to come over and doesn't want to be close in case of her exposure to anything. And I think that's the biggest thing for healthcare workers is the distance they have to take is greater than the general public has to because of what they do. And I think we all just can't wait for things to kind of go back to normal someday if they can.
One of the things that I struggle with is speaking out. Part of that's due to the fact that I'm generally very fearful. I've been taught from a fairly young age to silence myself, and so it's really difficult for me to be vocal about the things that are bothering me. With that being said, this week in particular, it's become more clear to me that I need to start feeling more comfortable speaking out because there's a lot of things wrong going on in this world. That's why I think one of the most important things that we should be focusing on, including myself, is speaking out a lot more, because without that, we're not going to get much done.
Biggest change in my career happened when all the acting work in Atlanta went away. I was doing a lot of background work in Atlanta. Things were going really well. I was in a major motion picture, the big star, huge star, major director. And they flew us out to LA for the last scene of the movie, standing right next to the guy. But that stalled. Everything in Atlanta stopped. So there's no more work in Atlanta. So what I had to do is turn inward and look at other talents I might have. And so I began painting. And this took off. I ended up with 11 great paintings, and I'm working on a 12th one. And I've had some offers on some of the paintings, and one behind me here. I've got to figure out how to price them. But I think that's kind of what it's all about. You just don't give up. You just keep pushing forward. And you maintain a positive attitude. Now, COVID's not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. But I got to admit, if it had not been for COVID, I wouldn't have discovered this hidden talent I had inside me. So that's exactly what I urge everybody to do, is just keep a positive attitude and keep moving forward.
If you had told me 5 years ago that I was going to live through a global pandemic, I probably would have laughed. But now that I'm living through a global pandemic, it's not something to laugh about. Thousands of people have lost their lives, thousands are fighting to recover, and so many are at risk. And as we slowly start to see states return to a form of normalcy, the one thing I can stress is to be patient, be kind, and adhere to those guidelines that are being asked of you. If you're being asked to wear a mask, wear a mask. That mask is not just for your protection, but it's for the people around you. You never know if someone's fighting an autoimmune disease and wants to step out of their house without the fear of dying. Stay the 6 feet apart. Just remember, we have to stay united during all this. We cannot be tearing each other apart. So please stay safe, know that you're loved, and we will get through this.
It's hard being a parent today. You know, the kids aren't in school, they're home 24/7, they can't go out, you know, they can't be as active as they usually are. They're constantly hearing, you know, about what's going on. You know, I feel like my son is really hyper vigilant and knows too much of what's going on. You know, when he starts saying the numbers of dead people from this virus, you know, it makes me worry for, you know, how could it possibly be affecting him? You know, and how will this affect him long term? How will everything change? Because nothing is going to be the same once this is all over. And I really worry, you know, I hope it changes for the better. Because this is, it's a scary time to be in.
I surrendered my life to Christ and to God over 20 years ago when I first joined the military. And it's taken me through a lot of different directions. And now, seeing the fear and the hate just consuming people, it's led me back to church. And it's led me back to my faith. And I'm so grateful for my boyfriend because we pray together and we worship together and we go to the online sermons together. And because of that, we're staying faithful and hopeful that God has his plan and that he's going to continue opening the doors. And we don't have the answers to this, but we do know that the most important thing is to keep peace, love, gratitude, and unity in our hearts, because this is still our community.
2020, crazy roller coaster, twists and turns, unbelievable. But I'm most surprised, I believe, by how hard the entertainment industry's been hit. I've been a part of this industry for 15 years, and I never thought this was possible. One of the main reasons I got into it because I thought it was recession proof. It's not. You add a pandemic to that, hardworking people, talented people can't find work. Movie theaters are closed. Concerts, no go. Sporting events, yeah, right. It's insane. But I do know this. All those hardworking people, talented people, go-getters, entertainment will come back in a big way. And when it does, we're going to be here to create memories for everyone. Because that's what people need in times of need, is entertainment, to get their mind off of things. And that excites me. Because it's happening. It's going to happen very soon.
The thing we need the most at this moment is a legitimate government that can look out for the well-being of the majority of its citizens, of all, the vast majority, not 60%, but let's get to like 98, 99%, since it's not a perfect world and never will be. It's become very clear that this government of the U.S., frankly, regardless of party, you know, I have both sides of the political spectrum in my family, and the thing that we can all agree on, even when we struggle to agree on what day of the week it is or on facts, we can all agree that this government doesn't work, that it does lack legitimacy in our eyes, and that is the core. That is the termites that have weakened the rafters and the struts and the walls, and that has allowed these crises that we've experienced to cave in significant portions of our house. And in order to create a government that has legitimacy, we need to go back to the drawing board. We need a constitutional convention. There's a really compelling model in Ireland from, I believe, 2016, but very, very recently, of citizens shoulder to shoulder with government, rewriting, remaking their constitution, really examining parts of who they are, who they've become, and who they want to be. And, you know, here in America, we're almost 250 years in, and what's become clear is that this system, our institutions, do not work. They are failing us in different ways at different moments, but I think that is one of the few things we all feel, is that this system is failing, and so it's time for a reboot. America, I don't know what's more American than saying, okay, that didn't work, let's try something new. You know, we like to think of ourselves as so exceptional, and I'd like to see us prove it and go for version 2.0.
Coming back from Australia to America on the flight was really weird. Getting on the plane, when we got on, people just started disinfecting their seats, including myself, and everyone was like scared to bump into each other or touch each other. So it was like the most respect I've ever gotten getting on a plane. No one rushed me or anything. But when we finally sat down, it was me and another student, college student from South America, and then another woman that was also going to uni. We kind of broke the ice and chatted and got along, but it was this really weird thing where some people on the plane would cough. And if someone coughed, the whole plane would just like stop and look at each other. And it was like the most offensive thing you could do on that plane was cough or touch someone else in any way. And it was just a really surreal experience being around so many people, but like trying to isolate yourself from them at the same time on an international flight.
I think the best way to balance life and livelihood is to make them one and the same. And yeah, I know it's much easier said than done. It just feels like most of us aren't like truly happy or very fulfilled doing whatever it is we do for 40 plus hours a week. We just do it to pay the bills. And then once those bills are paid, whatever like time, money is left, then that's used for the pursuit of happiness, which is the true essence of the American dream. I don't know if it's specific to this country's culture, but here we're very defined by our work. It's the most common icebreaker. What do you do for work? Try following it up with, and does it make you happy? And watch half the people have an existential crisis on the spot. Hopefully not. But our work, our livelihood is how we spend most of our waking hours. It's how we make money. It's how we contribute to this powerhouse of an economy. No wonder it's such a huge part of our identity. I hope that your work, your livelihood doesn't only feel like a responsibility to your family or those around you. I hope you allow yourself to be a little selfish. Pursue what it is you want, what makes you happy.
So in addition to the global pandemic, I've been going through some personal things that are honestly some of the toughest things I have ever gone through in my life. And if you told me a couple months ago everything I'd be dealing with, I would have told you I can't do that. I'm not going to be able to handle it. I'd be a wreck. And what has been really hard, it's been hard, but nice to realize is that I can deal with it. You know, and not only that, I have seen, you get worried to want to tell people about problems and you don't want to burden them. But I've realized, I've seen how much people have been willing to reach out in all this, specifically people reaching out even more than normal. You know, all the technology we have has been allowing people to reach out even more. And I've felt my community in ways that I never have. So I think that's something that really surprised me. I didn't expect out of this. And I would just tell anyone and really reaffirm with them is, hey, you can deal with things that you think you can't. And do not be afraid to reach out to friends because they want to help.
I wanted to start dating. So I went online and met some people, and then I met a really nice guy. And then COVID started. Quarantine started. I want to date, and the world responds with, here's a virus where no human contact is required. The results of which are sickness and possible death. So is love worth it? We started to text and we started to talk, and then we had Skype dates. It's like a real date, but you're not in person, and you get dressed up and do your makeup and you have all that fun stuff. Great conversation, but no contact. I talk to my friends about meeting him in person, and they all say, well, wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart. I want to kiss him. I think if we're that close together, that's what's going to happen. So I don't know. People are together during this time, but you can be in groups of 6 or 10 or less, and a group of 2 is the smallest group there is, right? I don't know. It's a little frustrating. So do we meet? Do we not meet? Do we kiss? Do we not kiss? I guess it's all to be determined.
Being a parent during the time of COVID-19 has been a bit of an emotional roller coaster for me, from pretty intense anxiety during those first few weeks, especially of our stay-at-home orders, not knowing if our 2-year-old son or my husband or myself had been exposed, and having to talk through all of the different what-if scenarios and just make sure that all of our T's were crossed and our I's were dotted when it comes to care for our son if, God forbid, something were to happen. Thankfully, now that we've settled into this quarantine routine and we're all healthy, we've shifted our focus and been able to just be grateful for all of this additional time that we've been able to spend with our 2-year-old son, soaking up all of the little moments and really just enjoying him in a way that we might not have been able to if we didn't have this extra time.
This year has been crazy. Witnessing what we've witnessed, the worst of humanity, sometimes the best. You know, I used to have so much faith in our government, and now I wonder if people even know what they're doing, which the answer would probably be no. On a state level, on a federal level. Makes me worry about the future. I think everybody does. But it's taught me a lot too. 5 years ago, I was told I wouldn't even make it past 48 years of age. I'll be 45 this year, in a few weeks. This time has given me time to slow down, to focus kind of just on me. It's made me a little kinder to people. It's given me hope, because dreams are in fact renewable. Better times are coming. Hopefully by 2020's end, but sometimes we need a major shakeup to get us back out there, right? And we are all in not the same boat, but certainly the same storm. And we just have to right our sails and follow the wind. Thanks for listening to me, if only for a minute or two. Godspeed. Much love.
I missed so much during COVID-19. Actually, probably the thing that I missed the most was friends and family. I mean, I didn't realize how much I took for granted, being able to just go and visit family members or visit friends and hang out with them and different things like that. Like basketball. Like just going to the gym and working out with your friends and having the conversations. I mean, it's a little bit different when you're in person versus talking on the phone, talking on FaceTime, you know, or whatever technology people use, right? I mean, it was, golly. I mean, the world just completely changed. Even visiting my mom, I couldn't even travel, right? Like that's probably a few of the things that I missed the most. And now I really appreciate it, and I can't wait for things to get back to normal.
My husband and I own a small business, and back in March, our clients started to postpone and cancel. And we both were pretty panicked about what was gonna happen next. And then a couple days later, we both got COVID-19. And it lasted about 24 days. And halfway through, I started to have lung problems, and I had trouble speaking. And so I sat kind of in silence for half of that time. And during that time, I realized how little control I had over anything. And I just started to reprioritize like what was most important in my life. And I realized it was just the people. It was the people in my life. Nothing else mattered. And no matter what happens during this time, whatever we lose, we'll rebuild and we'll make it through.
I've always found it odd when people believe misinformation and conspiracy theories. But during this pandemic, I'm stunned to witness so many people embracing falsehoods peddled on social media. It's incredible to think that because of the internet, we can probably read almost any newspaper or scientific journal in the world. And yet, I know someone who gets his information about COVID-19 from YouTube. I don't endorse any particular news source, but most are organized around journalistic principles, regardless of their point of view. So I think we should read as many as we can. On the other hand, any charlatan or idiot can post on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And believe me, they do.
Being a parent during COVID-19 is really hard. Really hard. I have to be everything for my children. I am their teacher. I cook all of the meals. I'm often the playmate. I'm really, really grateful that they have each other to play with, but that often devolves to screaming. So it's hard. And to try to do that while also maintaining a career and finding the time to do everything is exhausting, for sure. But I'm incredibly aware that we as a family will never spend this much time together ever again. And I hope that we'll look back and say, this was really precious, because at the end of the day, I'm so grateful for all of the snuggles and love that make it all feel worthwhile.
A big change has happened in my life since the beginning of COVID-19. My wife introduced me to meditation. I've been here in Colombia, South America since March 2020. And after 2.5 months of meditation, my perspective in life has totally changed. I can allow myself now to give more time to my body, my soul, and my mind. I have also learned to appreciate more the love and company of my family and friends. And small things like having a meal. Nurturing myself has become a ritual where I have found new and more exciting flavors with what I eat and drink. Never again do I want to eat and work at the same time as I used to do. Anyway, at the end, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the universe. Thank you to COVID-19 for letting me have another wonderful day in this beautiful world. Thank you. Please, everyone, take care.
When you're down and blue, when you're lost without a clue, just look for me, I'll be here for you. So just keep trying to make your dreams come true, and look for me, 'cause I'll be here for